So here we are live with Ray and Terry. We see the room starting to fill up. So thanks for everyone that has decided to join us. Ray and I are franchise consultants. Ray, tell everybody what a franchise consultant is and what a franchise consultant does for people that are joining us for the first time.
Sure. A franchise consultant, first of all, in a short way, is a helper. They help people get information on business ownership and franchising. In a longer term, we help people get from where they are to where they want to be, and we help them identify a vehicle, a business, to get them from A to B.
Yeah, that's a good description of that. We are small business owners, both Ray and I, and we've been in the franchise industry, both of us, for a long time. I got in 2004. What year did you get in, Ray?
94.
94. Okay. And if you're joining us today, thanks for being here. Put in the chat box where you're from. We always like to know where you live and where people are joining us from across the country. And our topic today, what you can expect today, is bouncing back from job loss. Okay. If you've been a victim of workforce reduction, layoff, fired, whatever terminology you want to use, that's what we're going to talk about today on Live. We've got some resources for you. So what's the first resource that we'd like to give out today, Ray?
The first one I'd like to give out is the hireyourbestboss.com website. Lots of great reference materials there. Lots of great short videos. Terry and I are the kings of short videos. If you can do a video in 15 minutes, we're going to try to do it in 3 and still give you all the information.
And that's my attention span. That's how we came up with that number.
That also is my attention span. No, it's really good. We try to keep it short and sweet, get you thinking about all the different aspects of business ownership and even the stuff about yourself. Everyone wants to make money, but you also want to be happy and like what you're doing.
We were answering people's questions on LinkedIn and writing out very long, detailed answers. And I called Ray one day and I said, Ray, I'm getting tired of writing these long answers. I said, I have an idea. And Ray's like, well, what's your idea? And I said, well, why don't we take one person's question out of our mailbag and we'll do a video answer. You give your answer to one question, I'll give my answer to the same question. And we'll keep it 3 or 4 minutes and send it to people. And so that's what we started doing. And it got traction. It got to be popular. And so we took every video that we've done, every franchise question posed to us, and we put it up on a website. And that is hireyourbestboss.com. It's a free resource. It's our learning community. You can go there. You can watch as many videos as you like. We have a roadmap series, so broken into 4 parts about what a franchise investigation looks like. And that's our first resource for you today. We've got more resources though, Ray, right?
Got lots more resources that we can help you with. You talked about the franchise roadmap. We talked about the different steps of the process. We have Word documents, questions. What are the major costs? What are the 6 things to watch out for? There are lots of information that we have, and we're always adding to the learning community. And our people, by the way, people who are part of our learning community are adding to the learning community. So it's people who have become very successful franchise owners, multi brand owners, multi-unit, multi-territory owners. People have been doing it for a long time, and people who have been doing it for 6 months, right? So lots of different people who are actually in the fray, and also those who have been looking for a long time and learning. It's a good place a good mentor of mine once said, it's a good place to keep your tools sharpened, right? Iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron. And another resource we have for you is a one-on-one question and answer call. We do these all week long with lots of people. So if you'd like to put a question for us today in the chat box, please feel free to do that. If you get to the end today, or if you have to leave early, if you've got a hard stop and you really want to get some questions answered, please feel free. Go down, ping us on LinkedIn and say, hey guys, I'd like to schedule 30 minutes with you to get my specific questions answered. We call them Q&A calls. And we do a lot of them, and we actually like doing them because we get to meet you, we get to understand you, and you get all your questions answered. There are no questions that we won't answer on that. So there are two great resources, and we've got a third tremendous resource later in the call. Franchise funding companies, companies that specialize in helping you find the right money for your franchise investment. And so we'll show you how to get those with us later. All right, Ray, you told me earlier this morning, you said, hey, Terry, I've done some research and I've got some fun facts about layoffs. And I said, Ray, I'm pretty uncomfortable calling these fun for anybody that's been laid off. And we both agreed these are not so fun facts, okay?
Right.
But they are facts.
Yep. I was speaking, Terry and I have been working with lots of folks who are going through job losses. Some people call it right sizing. People who say that aren't the people who are going through it. But we're both working with a significant number of people right now who are going through this, and it's happening a little more and more. We kind of expected it, and we're actually seeing it. Terry, how many people are you working with right now closely that are going through it?
Right now, Ray, I have 11 groups that I'm working with, husband and wife teams, individuals, business partners, but 11 unique separate groups that are talking with me because of workforce reduction issues.
And I've got about 25% of the people I'm working closely with. I'm not just, really hand in hand with, who are going through these situations. And that doesn't even actually include the folks who are in fear of it, who are like looking around, like looking over their shoulders, thinking it's coming. So this is where it was the genesis. We were getting a lot of questions about this. And I was speaking to actually one of the partners of a leading outplacement firm, very good firm, very well known. And he shared the fun facts. Terry and I call them the not so fun facts.
The not so fun facts if you've been laid off.
It's actually pretty amazing. So I'm going to bring them up to you, Terry. Let's just throw it out there so people can hear it. I think it's important. Here's one. 61% of leaders of organizations have reported, they did a study, that they're likely to have layoffs in the next 12 months. 61%.
All right. So I'm not all that great at math, but that's 6 out of 10.
That's 6 out of 10.
Which means if you're here today, you got a high percentage chance that you're going to land in that, because 40% didn't report yes, 6 out of 10 did. Okay, so staggering statistic.
Staggering statistics. The next one really floored me, so I'm interested to see if it floors you as much. This same study said it takes an average of 2 years to recover from the psychological trauma of losing a job.
2 years.
Psychological trauma. That, for some reason, that hit me. 2 years to recover from that. Interesting.
Yeah, I went through that trauma earlier in my career, but there is trauma, right? I mean, your income stops. Maybe you get some type of severance package. Maybe there's a little parachute there. It's not like it used to be, but still your income stops. Your badge doesn't work. Your email address, is rendered useless. Anybody in the audience today experience that? And so, yes, there's trauma around that. Then if you're married, you have to tell your spouse, you start thinking, man, maybe we should cut back on some of the things we're doing with the kids. There's some trauma around that.
And it takes 2 years. 2 years.
2 years.
Go through that. And what's interesting about that, Terry, is I know you've told me a statistic that you've seen is that at a certain point in your career, you could do the math and figure out, if you've got 10 years left in your career, you're likely to have 5 more jobs. And if that math holds true, no reason for me to doubt that, that means you're going to go through psychological trauma the whole time if you're switching your job every 2 years.
Yeah, consistent psychological trauma around the fear of job loss.
Yeah, it's a lack of control, really.
Lack of control. Yeah. No,
so
around your income generation. I was talking with one of my candidates on Monday about this, and he reached out to me, and we were doing a question and answer call. And, we started talking about it. And I said, what's got us talking today? And he said, well, workforce reduction. And I said, good. Thank you for reaching out. Which which one is this for you? Is it the first? Is it the second? Is it the third? Is it more? And he said, oh, no, this is really the first time this has happened to me. And I said, okay, how do you feel? And he said, well, I'm a little curious about business ownership. I've thought about starting my business. And I said, can I share my experience over the last decade with you, over the last 10 years? And he said, please. And I said, the first one, you're probably going to think, well, man, this is kind of cool. Now I've got a sabbatical, right? I've got a little time off. I'm not going to have to work a holiday weekend for the first time in 7 years. I can go visit my brother on the East Coast. Then he started chuckling and he said, yeah, I'm actually looking forward to a little time off. And I said, yeah, everybody is. And I said, but here's what I've seen. My experience in dealing with thousands of people over the last 10 years is that it's going to take longer than you thought. You're going to reach out to all of your friends on LinkedIn. You're going to let them know what happened, and you expect them, to come back to you with, opportunities. Oh, our company's hiring, or you should talk to my boss. He needs somebody that with your skill sets, that type of thing. And I said, it just takes longer. I said, but when you land the job, the news is it's probably going to last 2 to 3 years. That's what the facts are. And then the second time it happens, you think, oh my goodness, I never expected this to happen again. Well, jobs aren't for 10, 15, 20 years anymore. That's not what the market research says about today's job market. I said, so the second time, you don't kind of take that sabbatical. This is where the psychological trauma starts to set in again. And then it takes a little longer to find that job. And then you've got it for 2 or 3 years. And I said, the third time, this is when I talk to a lot of people about taking control of that, because if you are a business owner, you will never get fired again.
Yeah.
Okay. You can control that part. Does that make sense, right?
It makes perfect sense. The reality is the first time, it is very much for most people a sabbatical. And it's a little disconcerting, but it's not as bad. A lot of it happened over COVID times, but it wasn't as bad because it was happening to a lot, and it was the work at home and switching things. But by the time you hit the second or third time, or if they it starts to change on you, that's not a sabbatical anymore, and you start to feel. Unfortunately, a lot of people start to internalize it, and they're like, I did something wrong. There's something about my work output. It's not appreciated. And it's just that you came up in the world with an expectation, and it's changed. The world's changed. There's been a lot of upheaval, whether it's, the Uberization or the AI, there's a lot of change. So, no, you said it well. And thanks, Tara, by the way, thank you very much for sharing your personal story. Had one other.
Before we go on, here's an exercise that I encourage people to do. Project your retirement age, 65, 67, 70, whatever the government says for your age bracket, project that, and then work back to your current age. So simple math, take your retirement minus your current age, and look at how long you have left to work. And use that 2 to 3 year average for a job, and then you're probably going to be out 18 months between those. So here's the question. How many more jobs are you going to have the rest of your career? I talk to a lot of people that want one more job. They just want one that's going to last, 8, 10, 12, 15. And I don't see that. I haven't seen that. Okay. So if you're going to go through this psychological trauma that takes 2 years, how many more times are you going to have to go through that? These phenomena are real. We talk to people every week, every day in these situations. So if you're in that situation, please don't hesitate to book a Q&A call with us.
Yeah. Absolutely. Last one I want to share, last of these not so fun facts, was it was reported that the workers who are laid off, and then however much time it takes them to get their next job, on average, they saw a 30% decline in their earnings from the time of their layoff to their next position. So using your quick math, Tara, if they were making 150, they lost a third of it. They're down to 100. So
yeah, okay. There's a conversation I don't want to have with my spouse.
Nope.
I don't want to walk through the door and tell my partner I got a job, but we're still going to have to cut back.
Still going to cut back. I think there's a lot of people who are going through it when they're in the second or third time, and it becomes real. Sometimes they still go and get another job, many of them get another job and also try to create another income stream. Many through franchising, but in any which way, they're going to try to create another income stream. Again, Terry, that's about getting and maintaining control, right? Not letting it happen
we
to you
do
again.
have franchises that you can build while you keep your job. We talk to people a lot about that. So, Ray, these not so fun facts, let's turn it into positive. What can you do? Okay. That's why people are here today. If you've been, a victim of this workforce reduction and you're thinking about starting a business, where should we start on that? What would be your starting point with people, Ray?
My starting point would be to have a conversation with somebody who understands the field. I would say, obviously one of us, but somebody who understands franchising, someone who is going to be looking at it with you to see if there's any fit. Do a boundary scanning exercise. That's what you and I do a lot with our folks. What's possible? Many people don't even know. I mean, one of the resources that people use of ours the most is the 3 possibilities of franchising, right? Owner, operator, executive management, investor, right? Like there's different aspects, different ways to do things. So my recommendation would be to have a conversation about the art of what's even possible. What's out there. That's what I would do.
Yeah, let's break that down and go a little deeper on that. I think that would be helpful. In all my Q&A calls, it's very helpful when I go through that. Ray, do you need $1 million to buy a franchise?
No.
I've heard that question twice this week from people that are searching, and they're like, well, fast food is on everybody's radar. It has been for the last 60 years. So when people think franchising, they think the Golden Arches and they think Chick-fil-A and, expensive franchises. Could you spend $1 million on a fast food franchise? Yeah, very easily, but you don't have to with the different layers of possibility. So the first layer of possibility is an owner-operator model. This is the historical model in franchising, been around 60 or more years. This is where you're working in the business, providing some type of labor component. At the same time, you're working on growing the business. You're trading time for money. Well, how much time, Ray? 40, 50 hours a week is what I hear, right?
I hear the same. It replaces your full-time job. You become the working president, if you will, of whatever organization's in there. And there's some things that are really positive about this model, that particular model. Normally it doesn't cost as much, right? The investment, because you're investing your time, you're investing your effort. So it's still, you're gonna have skin in the game. People always, you probably get this question, I have to have skin in the game, how much? And I'm like, well, it depends, right? But generally speaking, on an owner operator, you're probably going to have at least 50 in it, and then you'll finance the rest, is what I see people do. Terry, are you hearing that same thing? Is this what you say, or do you have a slight different
Exactly what I say, because that's what the facts are.
Right.
$75,000 to $100,000 all in is the owner operator investment range. So when I say all in, what do I mean? All in total project cost, franchise fee, the hard cost to start the business, and the working capital required.
How much did you say, Terry? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
$75,000 to $100,000 total project cost.
Right.
And so 3 components to that: franchise fee, hard cost to start the business, working capital. And today, the franchise companies and the commercial lenders want you to have about 1/3 of that all-in number as your cash injection. So if it's a $75,000 owner-operator business model, you can get in with $25,000 cash and $50,000 debt service, commercial bank loan with an SBA guarantee, 401k rollover. Yes, you can use your 401k or your IRA legally, morally, and ethically, without paying tax penalties. Most people don't know that. We inform people of that when we talk to them. But that's the range on an owner-operator model. So your time, probably the hours you're working on a job right now. The investment level, way below that $1 million number. Ask about.
Way below. I even tell people there's sometimes that I kind of go higher on some of the numbers, because I'd rather, just like you, I know you do the same thing. But let's say it was 100 to 200. or 75 to 200 on an owner operator, you're probably going to have, like, I know there's times you can get in for less, but you're probably going to have, 50 into the game, right? 50
Yeah.
skin. You're probably going to have 100, 150 because you'd rather have a little extra cash. You'd rather have a little leeway on what's going on. And those are very doable numbers for the kind of folks that we've been, we work with. I do have people come to me saying, "Hey, can I get the government to pay all my money and get in for free?" And I'm like, I know, a friend of a friend of a friend who did it, and I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't
Yeah.
know that friend of a friend of a friend. So I still tell my folks, you're going to have skin in the game, and I want you to mentally be prepared to have skin in the game, and I think it's actually important.
And the next layer of possibility is an executive role in a manager management model. And these lines are not hard and cut, they're blurry. But when you start to go to the next layer of possibility, it kicks in around 125, 150 on the low end and goes up to about 350, 450 on the high end. Okay,
Right.
three different segments to that marketplace. So in an executive manage the manager management model, okay, you are the executive. You're working on customer acquisition. You're working on cash flow and managing your cash. You're working on fulfillment of the product or the service that the business provides, and you're working on managing the manager. Okay, so you are an executive and you have a manager who works in the business while you work on the business. Okay. Now, I hear all kinds of hours around that, Ray. I mean, I hear from zero, up. At zero is not an answer. Okay.
Zero's not an answer. The two things: you can get the answer by doing your homework, and
yes, we will show you how.
Right. We'll show you how. And you talk to the franchisees and you talk to the successful franchisees and you see how much time they put in early and then later. So it's good. A starting point, someone will tell you how many hours they are, but don't stop at the starting point. That's a starting point. And then you peel the onion back and see. Your expectation, I'm telling you, it's not zero on executive. I mean, you're the COO. I don't know any COOs who do 0 hours, but it could be 10 to 25 hours in a week, depending upon how good the system is that you choose, how aligned your skill sets are to the system, right? So how good is the system? How good are you? How good is the manager that you hire?
Yeah, but 20 to 30, seems to be a common range across a lot of different franchises. So in that low end, in that 125, 150, you're going to see a lot of mobile-based businesses, a lot of vans that bring products or services into the neighborhood, maybe a crew of one, maybe a crew of two. Think fire, flood, mold remediation. Think landscaping. Think a clogged drain that needs, immediately repaired. Think of interior and exterior painting. Services that move through residential neighborhoods and go to commercial businesses in vans. Okay. Then as you move up, you get to the first retail price point, which is brick and mortar. Okay. Across the country, generally about $250,000 to get into an 1,800, 2,000 square foot brick and mortar business. Okay. What's a good example of a business like that, right?
A good brick and mortar, a massage place.
Yeah, massages. Everybody 20 years ago told me massages were a fad. You only got them when you went on a cruise ship. Today, you can't visit a community that doesn't have multiple massage businesses, okay, because people are stressed. Massage is stress reduction. It's not a luxury for people at a 5-star resort. It's for postal workers who are on their feet all day.
think health, think wellness, think beauty. There's a lot in the health, wellness, beauty aspect there. Boutique fitness fits into that as well. There's a lot in there. There's some what I call light medical, chiropractic type options, and there's more coming. There's more in that medical field that are developing and growing. I'm hearing a lot about anti-aging type options out there as well. That just people, again, health, wellness, beauty. There's a lot in that space.
Yeah, and medical franchises, medical businesses generally anti-recessionary, okay? Because you need this. It's not a luxury if you have a body part that doesn't work well, okay? You need to go get it fixed.
Yeah.
And so you have a manager, they open up in the morning, you have your technicians, you have your trainers. If it's a fitness business that come in, your customers visit, they go home, the manager locks up at the end of the day. And you generally, not always, you can be in your business whenever you want, but you work externally on the business, okay, as the executive while your manager works in it. Absolutely. And then the third layer of possibility, Ray, what's the third layer?
That's the investor model.
Who's that for?
That's for a little more seasoned investor, honestly, someone who's a little higher up there. Usually the investment's more. It's for somebody who doesn't have a whole lot of time, less time. Generally speaking, there's always, we speak in generalities, but generally speaking, there's less time and more money involved, more investment. And the idea is that you are more of the CEO. You're setting the agenda, you're watching the numbers because you always watch the numbers, but a lot less time involved in those. So that's the people that I'm seeing.
These businesses have full-fledged general managers or full management teams that run the business, and your role is oversight. Yeah. It can be 2 hours a month, it can be 2 hours a week, it could be 5 hours a week. It depends on the model, depends on the franchise company, but range about $500,000 up to about 2 million tops in our portfolio. Yeah. So, and I talk to a lot of business owners, right, who have businesses and management teams already, and they're looking to diversify. They want another category. They want another business. They know how to provide oversight on businesses. And so that investor category is really cut out for someone like that.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of real estate investors and a lot of investors in the marketplace who are coming in for just this type of deal. That's what they're looking for. Also, you see people who are experienced in the franchise sectors, like you just said, Terry. I've already done this. Let me add to my portfolio. That's what they're doing. But there are some people who that's their initial round going into franchise. They go into it at this level. It's a higher investment, generally speaking, in terms of capital, in terms of money, but it is less in terms of time.
Yeah, well, let's talk money for a little bit. So if you're on the call today and you're thinking, okay, I've got some resources, right? I have a stock portfolio, been doing okay this year. August isn't such a great month in the stock market, but overall, it's not performing like I would like it to. Maybe my resources could return more in small business ownership. We have 4 companies that we've worked with for the last 15 years or so that help you find the right money simultaneous to us helping you find the right franchise. So what do these companies do, Ray? They do commercial bank loans?
Commercial bank loans. They help you acquire SBA. They work with you to potentially, as you were alluding to, doing a rollover plan where you, instead of investing, I had a person once who said, and so instead of investing in Enron, it tells you how long ago it was. So instead of investing in Enron, I can invest in Bobco. And I was like, yeah, Bob, that's what you can do. It's legal. You have to do it right. It's legal if you do it right.
These companies help you do it right.
Absolutely.
That's the benefit. They keep you inside the law for as long as you have the plan in place. So tremendous benefit there. Vehicle leasing packages. Right? Anybody in the audience know where you would go to get a vehicle leasing package for a franchise? We do. We've got 4 companies. We can introduce you to them. And so how much money do you need? Well, you need some money, right? You've got to have some liquidity. Good credit is really helpful. What's good credit, Ray? What's the number? Where does it start to be, a reasonable number?
I think you're looking at the mid 600s up.
Yeah, I totally agree. Mid 600s and up.
Right. I mean, I've seen people get loans with less than the mid 600s. I've seen it, and there's ways to get money, many different ways. But the vast majority I'm seeing are people who have good credit, have some liquidity. You're going to have some skin in the game. But reality is like the SBA, some people are building their stool of financing through different, it's not always just one. It's not just conventional or just vehicle equipment. First of all, it depends on the business you get. If the business is equipment heavy, you're looking at some equipment leases as part of your portfolio. SBA works for some options and doesn't work for others. SBA has kind of changed some of the requirements. When you're at 500 or less, and again, talk to an SBA specialist because things change, but at least as of recently, if you're at 500 or a little bit less, they're not requiring your firstborn anymore. How about that? That's what I'm seeing. There's the rules have been changed a little bit and makes it a little more interesting for some people. But it really is important. You touched upon something, Terry, I think is really important. You don't know whether you can have the right vehicle, the right business, unless you can also have the right financing. They go hand in glove. You have to understand both. I mean, it might be a great business, but if it stretches you out over a barrel, it's not a great business for you.
Yeah, I talk to a lot of people that want to find the right franchise and then go find the right money. I think that's just everybody's natural inclination, but it's not a best practice. No. You should run those investigations simultaneously. And many times what you'll find are additional funding sources you didn't even know you had. And so use a little of this, use a little of that. If you've got some equity in your house, maybe a home equity line of credit, maybe a securities-backed line of credit for a stock portfolio, and you can mix and match this, and you might just find that you can afford a little bit more than what you thought you could coming in, which expands Ray and I's ability to look deeper into our portfolio and show you more companies that fit your model. We work on a written strategy basis, and we want to show you, the opportunities that you have out there. So if you have a little more flexibility in funding, we have a little more flexibility in matching you to the right franchise.
Yep, absolutely, Tara. As always, that's great advice. The more that we can help you understand your options, you're not making a commitment. I think a lot of times people don't want to do the financing at the same time concurrently because they fear, without knowing, they fear that they're making a commitment or they're spending or using money to do it. You're not. You are learning your options.
That's a great point. So let's start at the beginning. What commitment do people have to make to us? Do they have to cut us a check? Do we take credit card numbers? What's the commitment to you and I?
It's actually time. It's time and respect. We have handshake deals with people. I'm going to respect your time. You respect their time. They respect your time. We're all learning together. People think it's a buying process, this whole thing. It's really a learning process, Tara. We spent years refining this. We help people learn what their options are. That's all. And then they get to do the homework. They get to understand. If it's the right thing for you, Terry and I are going to high five you, right? That's great. And if you go through the process and you find out the timing's not right, whatever you find out, if it's not for you now or in the future, the truth is, if you've done your homework, we high five you. That's a great output.
Our service, no cost, no obligation, no catch. Okay. We're compensated like executive recruiters or like commercial real estate brokers. And so we never say, send us this amount of money to work with us. Our currency, as Ray has said, is time. And so as somebody starts doing an investigation, Ray, is there any cost to talk to a franchise company? Do they charge you?
Well, no. The short answer, no. The long answer is if they ever did, run, don't walk to the nearest exit.
That's the short answer. Yeah. And run quickly. Okay. So no cost to work with us. The law says a franchise company cannot charge you any more or any less working with us. Okay. It has to be the same, uniform across all people. And then when does the first set of money change hands, Ray? Takes people several weeks to go through a normal investigation. When does money due?
Right. Every investigation takes people the time it takes for them to do it correctly. The standard deviation I see, if you're going fast, you're going to be, the 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, I agree.
many people take longer. It takes you the time it takes you to do it correctly, right? That's what it takes you. Money doesn't change hands until you've gone through the whole process. You've done your due diligence. You get the informed decision, right? You get the information. You make the decision. Money doesn't change hands until all that's happened. Plus, there's legal. You have to have documents in hand X amount of days, depending on the state where you live. I know it's harder to work with you, Terry. I know it's harder to work with me. And that's by design. We do it because we want to do it to help you. We don't want you falling in love with the company right away. Take your time, learn about it. If you decide to do it after serious homework and then you become a partner, fall in love with it then, just like you did with your house. Don't fall in love with your house right away. Find the house and then fall in love if that's your house.
Yeah, walking through business ownership investigation, is a field full of landmines, and we know where they are. And we point them out to you. We show you how to walk around them. We show you how to collect the data that you need. And if you decide to throw yourself on a landmine, well, that's on you. Okay. But we're going to show you where they are, how to turn the stones over, and how to get the data that you need to make the decision that's right for you and your family. I told a gentleman I was working with yesterday, I said, I come in assuming you know the right decision for you and your family. Right? You will make the right decision, and I'm going to show you how to collect all the information that you need to make that decision. And so at the end of the day, we don't sell franchises. We are guides, and we will guide you through the informed decision process.
Terry, the right decision for one person is not the right decision for another.
That's totally true.
So you have to do your own homework. And our role is to help you identify those options. I mean, you might be somebody who is an early adopter and you want the latest and greatest, just like the people who get the latest iPhone. They got to have the latest one. They'll stand in line for 6 hours to get the latest iPhone. I won't, but if that's you, great. Other people want, this car has worked for me great. It works great. I'm gonna stay with this kind of car forever. I mean, you are you. You will do your homework to make the best decision for you, and we will guide you as you do it. So anyway, Terry, we've got a lot of people. They probably carved out. This is their time they carved out. We want to make sure that we've answered the question. So we're hearing lots of people, to recap, lots of people are coming to us, and they're one way or the other, they're either in danger of a job loss or they're looking over their shoulders, or they've recently experienced it. The purpose of this call is to tell you, A, you're not alone. B, there's nothing wrong with you. C, there's options. There's boundary scanning options out there. Professionals, good pros like Terry can help you go through the process, understand your options, compare, contrast, so that you can step by step make an informed decision that's best for you. So don't lose hope. We'd love to chat with you and see how we can help you if we can. And Tara, what do you want to add?
I just want to say thanks for everybody that's taken the time to be here. We have one resource in hireyourbestboss.com. So lots of videos there to watch. We have a second resource in a question and answer call with you. So if you want to talk about whether or not we think franchising could be right for you, grab a Q&A call with us. And then thirdly, if you'd like an introduction to some of these companies that we've mentioned, 4 of them that specialize in financing, if you want to talk to them, just get on our calendars and we'll be happy to share that with you. So thanks, everybody. If you're here because of a layoff, our hearts go out to you. We've been there. We work with people that are there all the time. All hope is not lost. If you want to just take ever being fired, reduced, or laid off again out of your life, become a small business owner.
Amen. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.